Jim, you and I both have young kids. I've got a 5-year-old and 2.5-year-old, and you have a 3-year-old?
I have a 3-year-old, and then from a prior marriage, I have a 10 and a 12-year-old.
Okay, so we're both dealing with how do you feed kids good food, and you're a ranked paleo, or not paleo athlete, ranked CrossFit athlete.
I'm up on that paleo.
Yeah, you're a ranked paleo bacon eater, and I'm definitely up there as well, with the Bulletproof diet and all. So let's kind of share some tips. What do you feed kids to make them healthy and well-behaved? What do you do in the morning?
Well, first of all, morning is a fantastic starter. In fact, I think you have the potential with small kids to completely ruin the day and have a really monumentally cranky kid whose head's doing a 360.
And so is yours in response,
yeah,
right?
and it also sends you off the deep end. And so I actually pay a lot of attention to that morning meal and getting him up. And he now is an incredibly active kid, and he's pretty ripped. He has muscles. He doesn't have an ounce of fat
It's
on him.
amazing how they look.
Yeah, and he'll run to the refrigerator. He always pulls out the things that are worse for him.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a lot, but things that are glycemic. And so what we really try to do, my wife and I, is we feed him eggs, organic. They have these beautiful yellow, orange yolks, and we cook them kind of low heat so it doesn't convert and get overcooked, which is not a great food. And we have organic bacon, because fat is a great thing, but it has to be clean fat because it also is a great repository for toxins. So you don't want to, when kids are growing, everything they put in their body, even more so than adults, that's going to be used to build something.
Yep.
And so you're building a foundation. So it's so important. Everything goes into a kid's body is good. Adults can handle it. You're already mostly built, right? I mean, you may perfuse and poison yourself, but if your foundation's good, great.
The foundation is, I think, the right word there.
I cook up little grass-fed hamburgers, and organic cheeses are great too. Just a whole range of things. Throw in, he doesn't like fruit that much, but blueberries and things like that.
Those are always a treat.
Yeah.
So you focus really heavily on fat and protein and a very small amount of carb in the morning.
Right, and this is another topic, obviously, but we need to dive into that PGC1 alpha, the athletic gene, because all these foods turn that on and off. But I always have that in the back of my mind is what do I want my kid thinking about and doing to have an active day? Because what's the alternative? Let's say the Cheerios breakfast with maybe a big old pancake, right?
Oh.
Do that. Then notice your kid's completely amped out of his mind, and you're going, wow, what's going on with him? And then right around 10 o'clock, wherever he is, he crashes and gets supremely cranky because of blood sugar issues. And the only way to kind of reboot is this vicious cycle of he is craving more kind of simple carbs.
It's kind of funny. This month, my wife and I were interviewed in Vogue magazine about our Better Baby book, and we talk about exactly that, build a better foundation, and you start the foundation for your kids before you even get pregnant. And what you eat while you're pregnant affects what the baby will be like for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
But then those first few years, you can give them such an advantage, and getting the foundational stuff right is important. But there's another angle, one that's very appropriate for that kind of Vogue audience. If you're interested in you're recovering quickly and not having wrinkles and looking good again after pregnancy, you have two choices during the day. You can have a well-behaved, happy kid who's engaged in playing, or you can have a kid who's screaming, whining, throwing things, and biting you. The difference is Cheerios and the other carby, sugar, crap breakfasts that we are taught are healthy, or eggs, bacon. My kids also get smoked sockeye salmon. They love the stuff.
Excellent. I wish I would eat it. Yeah.
And one of their favorites is like a taco, and we take young Thai coconut, you whack it in half with a cleaver, split it open, you scoop out this kind of bowl shape of white, soft coconut, and we put some frozen blueberries in it. They eat that, and just like you said, a soft cooked egg where the yolk is runny. You give a kid a hard-boiled egg, the cholesterol's all oxidized, they misbehave.
Yep.
So if you want to have less wrinkles, you want to have less cortisol, which is the stress hormone. You want less stress hormone? Keep your kids calm, focused, and happy by feeding them right. The difference in mine, I just don't want to feed them a bad breakfast. It's not worth giving them waffles.
No. So how about through the day? Like you're on a road trip, right?
Yep.
The other dilemma is you went, holy cow, I forgot to pack in some good snacks, and I'm at the mercy of whatever I can hunt and gather out of the local 7-Eleven.
Man, when you're at the 7-Eleven, it's tough because even the nuts at 7-Eleven are, baked or usually fried in some sort of bad oil.
They roll them in sugar.
Yeah, sugar and MSG, because MSG, you want your kids to really tweak, do that, right? So on the road, we are pretty careful to pack. Those flat packs of cold smoked salmon travel really well, as long as your kids like them. There are some gluten-free crackers that are low on the glycemic index. Mary's Gone Crackers is the ones we tend to do. It actually has quinoa, which I don't like in it, but it's a very small amount. And we almost always bring butter. In fact, with the kids, if they're going to eat some fruit, they have to have some fat with it, because otherwise then they get really hungry an hour later, they get whiny, and they get misbehaved. And also, like, your body absorbs sugar less quickly when you have some fat. So my kids think butter and cheese are pretty much the same thing.
I also buy those individual Justin's peanut butters and the other ones that are up, because I don't do the peanut butter because that's more of a legume. But I do the almond butters.
That's great stuff.
Cashew butters, hazelnuts, things like that. And another thing I do, I don't, they mix chocolate in there, which is like kind of crack cocaine. But I, even though they'll say, oh, this is organic, supremely dark, but what I will do is take a jar of like the almond butter, like the Justin's, and I will actually take it out and mix it with ground up organic cacao, and then put a little tiny bit of stevia liquid in there, mix it all up, and it actually has this really chocolatey, almond buttery type taste, but has no glycemic index. And actually, I think my kid would eat the entire jar if I let him in. So that's a fantastic snack.
Chocolate and cocoa are some of those foods that they taste good and they're really good for you, but they also can have high amounts of histamine or toxins in them from the way that they're processed.
Right.
I've had enough of a difference in behavior with my kids, certainly in my own experiments, that later this month I have something called upgraded chocolate powder that's coming out, which is a low toxin chocolate that produces better behaved kids when they eat it versus a higher toxin thing. It's the same thing. My kids love dark chocolate, and I even give them 85% dark, a little square of like a Lindt chocolate, which is typically a lower toxin on average kind of thing. And same thing, you smear almond butter on top. It's an amazing snack for kids. Kids metabolize caffeine twice as fast as adults, so the amount of caffeine in a bit of chocolate is meaningless to them. It'll be gone very quickly and they won't misbehave.
Well, and also the unprocessed just ground cacao. It's bitter, right? That's why they add all that vanilla and everything else to it. But if you put the little bit of stevia and then mix it with the almond butter, which is a little bit sweet, right? That really seems to make them happy. And the thing I like about raw cacao is it's ranked in the top 5 of the ORAC index for antioxidants.
It's such a healthy food. Now that I have a source where the kids behave consistently on it, that's become a bigger part of their diet. And mine are to the point where they'll even eat 100% dark chocolate. Like they'll lick their finger, stick it into the cocoa powder with no sweetener at all. They develop a taste for this. And the sweet taste, of course, they like the taste of sugar, but they don't need it to eat food because they've learned what healthy food feels like.
How about grass-fed jerkies? I always have a couple packs of those.
So
you have to look really hard to find it.
It's very tough. Most of the time they put soy sauce on jerky, which has gluten in it, and also it has a lot of histamine in it. So I find that kids typically don't do as well on jerky if it's got fermented soy with it, but if it's
Steve's Paleo Snacks.
Steve's Paleo Snacks, that's pretty good stuff.
Yeah, and it has a little bit of fruit in it, and coconut and whatnot. So my little guy loves those things.
Yeah, and I mean compared to one of those little smear fake cheese on crackers, which is what an average. I mean, and these are like happy kid foods. I know that when my kids are older, that's not how they're gonna think about healthy food, and I'm kind of glad about that.
Yeah.